We're live. We're live, yep.
And the broadcast is live. We have lost a Josh, but we are still here. And we now have visuals on the screen. It should be there where I'm pointing. If not,
Requested last week.
yeah, but we didn't have it last week because technical difficulties, technology, can't live with it, can't live without it. Both of it. It's great when it works, but when it doesn't, it just makes your show not look as visually impressive. So we do apologize for that. We will be doing one more mock draft and we will have something similar to this right here when we go forward. Obviously, we're not in the studio because of quarantine. We're still here in our homes. So the quality's gone down a bit, but the quality of the actual content is still up high.
Still
So
very high.
it's always high. It's always high. We're going to today go through the NFC North, which is the first division of the 8 divisions we're going to go through before eventually we'll probably do a big season preview before the season begins. But we'll start with the division that is home to my Minnesota Vikings, also home to the Chicago.
We shook to the first line already.
Back one, please. He's not listening.
Well, we can start off anyway, can't we? So
we can start off anyway. I was going to list the rest of the teams. Thank you, Josh. We've got the Chicago Bears, the Green Bay Packers, and the Detroit Lions. But first, let's talk about the Minnesota Vikings and switch slides. There we go. There we go. No problems at all.
So the Vikings.
Do you want to talk? I'll let you. We'll talk about what we're going to do basically is how they did last season, what they did in free agency, what they acquired, what they lost, what we think they need in the draft, and then what we project them to do next season. So I'll let Will talk through because he very nicely made these slides for the show, and he deserves to show them off.
Yeah, so I'll read them out. So like Kieran said, we're going to be doing this every week for each division until we get to the season preview, really, because after the draft, there's not a lot of stuff going on, but these will get you through it. So, yeah. So the Minnesota Vikings are the first team in the NFC North. They finished last season with a 10-6 record and made it to the divisional round of the playoffs. Kieran will obviously remember they beat the Saints in the wild card, which he was chuffed about for about a week until they lost the next game to the Niners, and it was then the worst week of his year so far, but we did enjoy it.
It was limp. When you kind of, look back on it, did we expect to get as far as we got? Probably not. I think in terms of the 10-6 record, it was a very good record. I think we were solid in, that position for a good long while. There was late pressure from the likes of maybe the Rams, but it was always going to be ours pretty much. We had the chance to win the division, but then we got beat by the Packers quite comfortably. Awful performance, and the dream of that, it would have been unlikely anyway, but the dream of that went out the window, which kind of secured us playing some more football in the wildcard weekend. But then we went to face the Saints, and away from home, wasn't expected to win the game. Arguably, people were saying we shouldn't have won the game, but we played good enough football to win the game.
You're the better team on the day.
Yeah, and even in the one thing is you've got to look at it and say with the way it works in terms of how basically whoever wins the toss gets the first drive, and if you score off the first drive, you've won. That was a bit of luck, to be fair.
But you still, I mean, if you win the toss, winning the toss is luck, but you've still got to go down the field and drive and score the touchdown. Fair play to Kirk. He made that massive pass to Adam Thielen on the 1 yard line. Unbelievable bit of commentary by Joe Buck as well. Everybody hypes. But yeah, fair play to the Vikings. I mean, I didn't see him beating the Saints, just like many people didn't see him beating the Saints. But they went in and beat them at their, in their backyard, which was a very good result because it's very, very hard to win in the New Orleans Superdome, and the Vikings did it. And fair play to Kirk Cousins, who, moving on to Kirk Cousins, he got a 2-year, $66 million extension this offseason. He was going to be a free agent next offseason, but the Vikings have extended him, so he's now under contract for 3 more years. Some notable losses, however, for the Vikings. They do include Everson Griffin, very, very good pass rusher. They're getting a bit older now, but he's still a very productive player. They lost Trey Waynes. I think he's there. Well, he was his second cornerback behind Xavier Rhodes, who was also gone. And you lost Linval Joseph, your big run stopper at the middle.
And Mackenzie Alexander.
Yeah, exactly. Another cornerback. So cornerback definitely looking like a need in the upcoming draft. But he replaced Linval Joseph with Ravens defensive tackle Michael Pierce. He signed into a 3-year, $28 million deal. He's still young as well, still pretty young for a DT, so he'll be there for quite a while. That was a nice pickup. The big move, though, this offseason for the Vikings was trading away star wide receiver Stephon Diggs to the Bills, which we can both agree, and I think they got a nice haul for in the end. You know, they got a 21st round pick, 5th round pick, and a 6th round pick, and a 4th round pick next offseason as well. So they got quite a big haul for him. And they currently, like I said, they have the 22nd overall pick and the 25th overall pick in the upcoming draft in the first round. Obviously, they'll have later picks in the later rounds, but those 2 first-round picks are vital. And they obviously franchise tag their safety, Anthony Harris, who has been in rumored to be he's rumored to be in trade talks with many other teams, but we'll have to see how he pans out. But as of right now, he's still on the roster. So, what do you think of your offseason in general, Kieran? Like,
we'll start at the top. We'll start at the top, and we'll move our way down and get into the draft a little bit later. We'll start with Kirk.
Yeah.
Right. He is an incredibly infuriating figure because when the ball is in his hand, he's brilliant. Honest to God, he's a brilliant pocket passer, and there's not many like him left. You know, he's not as good as Breeze. He's not as good as Brady or anything like that in terms of pinpoint passing. But you'll struggle to find one, you know, as good as him when the ball is in his arm. And to be honest, in terms of efficiency, in terms of accuracy, he was one of the best quarterbacks this year, and he's in a lot of people's top 10 in terms of performances this year, and rightly so. The only drawback is he lacks what the most effective quarterbacks last year have, which is a lot of mobility. He doesn't have it.
The pocket awareness as well. He's one of those. He doesn't really have the attribute to sense pressure very well, you could say.
No, and he can't get out of it even if he's in it. You know, I mean, look at Deshaun Watson. Sometimes when the pocket's closing in, I mean, I remember last season we talked about it a lot. 2 people were right on him, and he spun them both and made them tackle each other. And somehow, you know, he's obviously a different level. That's not what we're talking about here, but that is the only criticism for me. But for 2 more years, with a steady quarterback in place to build the team around going forward, I don't think it was the worst decision, and it was a very team-friendly deal.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, when you look at the quarterback market, it's only going up. And I think I mentioned this on the free agency frenzy that we did the live stream a few weeks ago. You've got Pat Mahomes, you've got Deshaun Watson, you've got Dak Prescott, all in need of new contracts. The market's just going to keep going up and up. And to get Kirk Cousins on a $33 million annual salary, I think it's really, really good business by the Vikings because franchise quarterbacks, they don't grow on trees. It's very hard to find, a good quarterback. And there might be some criticism of Kirk. Can he win the big games? Can he carry the team? But as long as he's getting wins, that's all that matters really. And he's not one to turn the ball over a lot. He only had, he didn't have double-digit interceptions. So he's like you said, he's an efficient quarterback, and he fits the system nicely. And with Dalvin Cook in behind him, and if you can get him another offensive weapon in the draft, which we'll talk about a bit later, there's no reason why he can't succeed. But I think locking him up long term by the Vikings was good because I think if you let him hit the market next offseason, some team will have offered him big money, and the Vikings might have been reluctant to match it. But the fact you've got him for $33 million a year, I think it's good business.
Yeah. And it'd leave us in a hole as well, and it'd leave us into, if we did lose him, into panicking to replace him or giving up a hell of a lot to get an early pick to draft a new quarterback. So I think it was safe business, it was smart business, and it's not a risk. You know what you've got. You might as well keep it for another 2 years. Will maybe fans get infuriated next season because there's always talk that he can't win on a Monday. That's still true. He has never won on a Monday. So as long as we're not playing Mondays, I'm happy with him staying at quarterback. But also, he doesn't win many playoff games. I think has he won 1 or 2?
He's won 1, but he has only appeared in 2. As far as I know, he's only appeared in 2, and one of those was with the Washington Redskins. So you can only win how many games you're in, and it is very hard to get into the playoffs. Like I think that is very underestimated how hard it is to get into the playoffs and win playoff games. Like Pat Mahomes this season, it was his second run at the playoffs, and he's already got multiple playoff wins. But he's a special quarterback. You're gonna have teams that go on runs and pick up a lot of playoff wins. But the important thing for me was Kirk showed that he can win under the circumstances in the playoffs. Away away as an underdog, and he still performed under the pressure, made the big throws when they were needed to be made. Yeah, the defense made some nice plays, but Kirk kept him in the game. Him and Dalvin Cook did a very, very good job on that drive in overtime to get them the win. So yeah, people could say he's only got one playoff win, but he's shown he can win that playoff game and get over that hump.
One problem with him is, for me, he's very one-dimensional. If it's not a run-pass option, he's not as effective. That might also be an offensive line problem, because I'm not a fan of Elf line. We'll talk about the draft later, but we need to stock that up, because if we're just running run-pass option all the time, it gives you a few dimensions. You're worried about the run game. But when Kirk's in the pocket, he's got time. When he's when the people are what's the word, focused on the run, he's quality. But it means we're playing the same thing the whole time, and that is why. But the Titans showed you can win a lot of games if you've got a good runner. Mm-hmm. But I don't think Dalvin Cook is as good as Derrick Henry. I don't think he could take as many hits as Derrick Henry can. So I like the signing. It narrows us a little bit in terms of what we can do in terms of scheme on offense. But am I okay with it? Yeah, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's a solid quarterback. Is Kirk Cousins, and he's going to get the job done. And you put pieces around him to be successful. It's only going to make him better. Out of the notable losses we mentioned, Everson Griffin, Trey Waynes, Linval Joseph, obviously said Mackenzie Alexander. You lost Jaron Kearse as well, the safety. Out of those players, who do you think was the biggest loss this offseason in overall?
I'll be honest. I'm not bothered about losing Trey Waynes. He was not the corner we all expected him to be. I think it was 2015 he was picked in the first round.
He was, yeah.
He's just not been the corner, hence why they drafted Mike Hughes a couple of years later. Xavier Rhodes was good once upon a time. He could rekindle it maybe somewhere else. Maybe he's just, lost his way.
Well, he signed a one-year deal with the Colts, so we'll see how he does there.
Yeah, but as you say, he could genuinely, maybe find a defense that fits him, because last season he was very poor and made a Pro Bowl. I don't know who picked him, but who knows? Then we'll go to Mackenzie Alexander, because that's corners again. Again, just an average corner I don't mind losing. It does leave us really short, though. Like, we've got Mike Hughes, who's played 5 snaps, I think, in his career.
Yeah, he tore his ACL in his rookie season, I think, Mike Hughes, and he's not really played a lot of games since then. But I think, like you said, you've not lost a star corner, because I don't think you had one anyway, but you've lost depth, and you do need to re-up that depth in the draft, definitely.
I think we'll get to the first round choices in a bit, but we'll go to Everson Griffin, who I do think is a loss, but he's 33. And, but, 74.5 sacks in his career. That's, impressive numbers. I will miss him. I will. People are saying, is maybe Adenabo the upcomer that will take that spot?
Yeah.
It's not enough has been proven yet to know that. We've still got stars on defense. Look at Anthony Harris. We've still got him. Still got Danielle Hunter. Still got, as I just said, Adenabo.
Eric Kendricks. Eric Kendricks, the linebacker.
Of course. But losing Griffin and Joseph, I think, were the big ones. The corners, the only thing I'm bothered about is we've lost depth. But in terms of quality of player, I think Joseph and Griffin. But we did get Michael Pierce, so I'm very happy with that.
Like you said, and you've still got your cornerstone defensive players. You've still got your superstar pass rusher. Danielle Hunter, I think, is one of the most underrated players in the league, especially for what he does off the edge. He's so underrated, but he's one of the better pass rushers. Eric Kendricks is your leader of your defense, very athletic linebacker. I want to say you've still got Anthony Harris, who was one of the better safeties, and you've still got Harrison Smith, who's arguably the best safety in the league on his day. So you've still got those star defensive players, like you said, Michael Pierce, and a nice signing from the Ravens. And like I said, I think it's just depth really you're missing. You've got those big defensive players, but if you can just get more depth on the cornerback position, maybe a bit more depth on the defensive ends, to supplement, to opposite of Daniil Hunter. I think if you get someone opposite him, that would be much better for the defense. But in general, you've kept your main players intact. Just about getting depth now, really.
That was it. I think the main thing is we lost a lot. We didn't lose a lot. Well, I don't want to say we didn't lose a lot of quality because we did, but we more lost numbers rather than anything. But I think what it might be about now is like kind of rejuvenating that defense, because that defense has been together for a long time.
Yeah.
Like it's been the same players, and that is what the team prided themselves on, and that is what kind of was winning games for us, really. I remember that, I think it might have been, I can't remember what it was. Was it the Packers? I think it was the Packers. Our defense was brilliant.
Yeah.
We just couldn't throw it might have been the Niners, actually. I'm not sure. It was either or. But the defense was brilliant, and we were getting, the ball back. But then when it came to offense, couldn't throw for, I'm not going to swear. Yeah, we couldn't throw.
You couldn't take advantage of it.
No. So I'm interested to see how it kind of changes next year. Hopefully we shift to a younger defense and then start building a generational defense like they did.
Yeah, well, I think you actually have a new defensive coordinator as well. I think he's actually left and joined the defensive staff on the Dallas Cowboys, as far as I'm concerned. But I think you will have a new defensive coordinator in the off season. Well, in the upcoming season, and it'll be interesting to see if he changes scheme. Maybe he switches to a 3-4 or a 4. If he keeps it as a 4-3. Basically, the difference is a 3-4 is you have 3 big down linemen and 2 linebackers that kind of blitz on the outside. A 4-3 is your 2 defensive ends and your 2 defensive tackles. So maybe they change the scheme up a bit to fit and build it around their star players instead of.
Well, I'd probably say I don't know. I'm thinking 4-3 because Michael Pierce is a good defensive tackle.
He's a good nose tackle as well.
Yeah.
So maybe if you had like the Michael Pierce at nose tackle, and then like Daniil Hunter and another defensive end plus linebackers blitzing. You've still got Anthony Barr. I forgot about Anthony Barr at linebacker. Yeah. He's still a really good player. So like you say, you've lost those 3 players and other defensive players, but I think it's not as bad as people are saying.
No, we'll be fine. We'll move to the trade away that we did, which was Stephon Diggs. I think we talked about this quite a lot. Sensible for both teams.
Yeah.
It's hard as a fan to part ways with the man that gave you the Minneapolis Miracle. It's an emotional sort of thing. You never want to. I mean, I'll get into football. English people, like if you're a guy, for example, Solskjaer at United when he won them that Champions League. Yeah. You don't want to part ways with him because he's given you such a euphoric moment. But makes sense for the Bills. They needed wide receivers. Made sense for the Vikings because they got a haul. And they've lost a personality that could affect people around him. Yeah. So for me, sad to see him go, but it makes sense.
I think, it makes sense for both teams. I think both teams won. You could say they both won this trade because the Bills got their star wide receiver that they desperately needed. They needed that number 1 option for Josh Allen, and he instantly becomes their best player on the team. But the Vikings also, they got a 1st-round pick, 5th-round pick, 6th-round pick, and a 4th-round pick. So they've got the assets there to easily replace him and more. Those picks you've acquired from Diggs could help you get more depth in defense. And the 1st-round pick you acquired could help even replace Diggs or get a new starting corner or a new starting offensive lineman. So although you have lost Diggs and it's tough, he's a good wide receiver, the pieces you got back for him were very, very good. And more than I thought you'd get for him, to be honest with you.
I mean, when you look at face value at our off-season, you think, God, they've lost a lot of people. But in defence, it looks to be quite smart in terms of what we've acquired, and it was smart with the trade. Like, I don't think we'd have given away Diggs for a 2nd and a 3rd and a 7th or something like that,
Yeah, I think it's because he's still quite youngish. He's only in his mid-20s, and his contract's very very team-friendly. So it's like you see some of these players getting traded and on pretty big contracts. Diggs on a favourable contract, and he's still young, so his trade value is still very high. So I think that's why the Vikings were still able to get something big for him.
He's had a back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons, so that's impressive off that itself. But for us to get more than what the Texans got for Mr. DeAndre Hopkins, I was sat here rubbing Aladdin's magic lamp because that was a wish we needed, and it's a wish we got.
I think that, to be honest, I think Bill O'Brien could have got more for DeAndre Hopkins, but it's Bill O'Brien, isn't it? He doesn't have a clue what he's doing. So.
But then that meant we acquired 2 first-round picks, which I'm excited for when the draft comes because I love being on the board twice because that just makes the draft more exciting. And I mean, if Anthony Harris ends up leaving, if we could sneak another first round, I don't think we would, but I'd be very happy. But we'll talk about what we think they're going to require in the draft. We'll talk about specific players because I've got 3 written down. And we'll talk about, by the way, you didn't mention we acquired TJ Sharp. I've just noticed I had that written down in my notes. That is
the wide receiver.
Yeah, a wide receiver 2, really, I'd say, to Adam Thielen.
It's a depth move, isn't it? You need depth on the wide receivers, especially after losing. You lost Laquan Treadwell as well, but he's been a bit of a bust since you drafted him back in 2016, I think it was. So he's not much of a loss, but yeah, TJ Sharp, a nice depth wide receiver, you could say. Yeah.
And he makes music. And, if you want TJ Sharp's album, probably out now. I don't know. I'm not sure. We'll talk about the draft, and we've got the 22nd and 25th overall pick. Who do you have? I know we did a mock draft last week, but any changes? Who would you pick at them 2 spots right now if you're going off today?
I think you should get a corner and a wide receiver in the first round, and I think you can get a good offensive tackle in the second. Obviously, they might fly off the board a bit earlier just because of the needs of the team, but maybe I know you like the man from USC.
I love the UFC.
What's he called? The USC offensive lineman that you liked. What was his name? Austin Jackson and Ezra Cleveland from Boise State and Cesar Ruiz. Yeah, Cesar Ruiz as well, another interior lineman that could be second round options. Yeah, I think first round you need to look at wide receiver and cornerback, but you could also say wide receiver. There's so many good wide receivers in this draft class. Up to round 4, you could get a starter on offense. That's how good this wide receiver draft is. I did taking Christian Fulton and Denzel Mims in the first round. I think if you got those 2, that's an A plus first round in my opinion, because those 2 are really, really good players. Whether they'll be on the board, it's yet to be seen. But
because you have to think about who's going to be there. Because the 3 I have written down, I've got Andrew Thomas as offensive lineman, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
Please tell me.
No, you're right. You've got his name right, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know if he's going to make it that far. I don't know.
I can't see it. Josh Jones, the offensive tackle, has probably got the best chance of falling to you out of the
first round. I did see the Chiefs were talking to him, I think. But I did put a big question mark next to his name because I thought he's not going to make it there. But, dreams can dream. But the 2 people I have are Trevon Diggs, because I'm very high on him, and I have T. Higgins because I'm very high on him as well. I know you think T could drop to the second round, but I think pick him up in the first. They're the 2 I would pick. So where do you think that leaves the Vikings next year? What do you think is their aspirations with? We'll use your draft picks and I'll use my draft picks, and we'll see where we think.
Well, we've both got them taking the same positions, and let's be honest, let's be fair. Denzel Mims, T. Higgins, Trevon Diggs, Christian Fulton. Whichever you get from those 2 positions, you're getting 2 really good players in positions of need. I think if you're the Vikings, once again, it's playoff aspirations, in my opinion. And also, don't forget, I think this has been looked over quite a lot. There's another playoff slot available in each conference now with the new CBA. So it might not take 10 and 6 to get into the playoffs. It might take 9 and 7. You might not need as many wins. So I think looking at the Vikings roster, they've got one of the better quarterbacks in the league. If you get a wide receiver on day 1 in the draft, you've got two offensive weapons. You've still got Kyle Rudolph as well at tight end and Irv Smith Jr. So you've got 2 good tight ends. Adam Thielen, TJ Sharp, and your first round pick at wide receiver.
And we've got the running game, which we've got Boone, Matson, Cook,
CJ Ham.
CJ, yeah, he re-signed.
So your offense is still looking pretty good, and your defense is still going to be there. Yeah, you lost some depth, but you've still got your cornerstone players. I think the Vikings again, they'll be looking to get into the playoffs again next season, definitely.
Do you think we win the division?
Now, I think you've got a chance. It's between you and the Packers, whoever wins the division. I think the games against the Packers this year are obviously going to decide who wins the division. They're going to be massive games. You're going to have to win at least one game against them, otherwise you're not going to win the division. It's simple as that. Whether you can do, I think you've got the talent to. It's just about getting pressure on Rodgers because the Packers, they didn't do a lot in free agency. We'll come on to them a bit later, but they didn't do a lot in free agency to bolster their squad, and they've only got one first-round pick. Go on.
Not a lot of teams in the NFC North did much. We are like one of the quietest divisions in terms of big acquisitions and crazy free agency moves. We were just a really steady. Nothing happened.
Yeah.
Nothing really
we'll come on to those three teams. Next.
Let me hold up a bit. Let me say what I think.
I wasn't going to move on. I was just saying we're going to come on to those teams a bit later.
I thought you were skipping past me. I was going to say, you can't let me.
I wasn't going to spoil your time in the limelight. Don't worry about that.
No, it's not going to. Well, I do think we'll finish second. I do think the Packers will win the division because, as I say, no one did enough to change the standings. I don't think. I literally have the division the same as last year.
Right.
So the Lions will finish bottom. Bears, us, Packers. Do I think we'll have enough to get into the playoffs? Yes, because they've added that extra spot. Do I think 10-6? No. I think. This is still a 16-game year. They've not added the extra game yet, have they?
No, that don't come into effect until the season after this upcoming season, so that's not in effect yet.
I'm going to go with 9-7.
Right.
Before the season begins, we'll do a preview and what we'll think. But at the moment, I'm thinking 9-7.
9-7. So you think we'll have a winning record? I'm probably on the same as you. 9-7, 10-6. I think for the Vikings this season again. Another season where they'll win a lot of games, and it's just about can they win those big games against the division opponent, the Green Bay Packers, and if they can, could be looking at a high seed in the NFC.
I think that's the problem though with the Vikings for so long now. They've never won a Super Bowl. They've always been a good team, but never a great team.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering when the year comes where we become a great team.
Yeah, well, rookies can change the face of the league. I mean, as a Dallas Cowboys fan, we finished 4-12 in the 2015 season. So we had very, very high picks. We absolutely smashed that draft out the park. We got Zeke Elliott, we got Dak Prescott, we got Jalen Smith. We completely overhauled the roster, and the season after we went 13-3. So it just shows you if you do pick worthwhile players in the draft, and those rookies become something very good in the rookie season, there's no reason why your team can't elevate from a good team to a very good team.
Hello, 2020 Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, no reason why they can't as well, because they've got tons of picks and they spent loads of money in free agency, and they've got a good coach.
I like Brian Flores.
Brian Flores, yeah, it's a good coach. Good coach. Got the Patriots connection.
Should we move on now?
We'll move on. We'll move on. We've had the nice chat about the Vikings. Almost half an hour.
We've probably chatted it a bit too long about the Vikings, but that's because Anyway.
The next team, Chicago Bears. Finished last season with an 8-8 record and missed the playoffs. They made the playoffs the season before, but this season, like I said, missed it. But underwhelming season, you could say. Their big off-season move really was acquiring Nick Foles, which I think shocked many. They got him from the Jacksonville Jaguars for a 4th-round pick, and they take on that big salary. Apparently, he's taken a pay cut and reduced his years of his contract, but they've still got to take on that pretty biggish contract onto their roster. They signed former Packers tight end Jimmy Graham to a 2-year, $16 million contract, and it has a no-trade clause. In my opinion, that's one of the worst deals this offseason. He's a very average tight end now. He's getting a bit older now as well. I think giving him $8 million a year and a no-trade clause, which in my opinion makes no sense because I don't think any team wants. Why would any team want to trade for him anyway? That's a pointless inclusion. So yeah, I didn't like that deal a lot. And they signed Robert Quinn from my Cowboys on a 5-year, $70 million contract. And I do like Robert Quinn. He's been a very good passer rusher for a long time. He knows how to get to the passer. But giving him $40 million a year, and he's 29 years of age. He's not exactly young. That could be a risky deal. 5 years.
It's $7 million.
Yeah.
Yeah. Carry on.
They re-signed Danny Trevathan, their starting middle linebacker, to a 3-year, $20 million deal. Again, it's a move that I did not see coming because, again, he's another player that's getting a bit older. I thought they might have kept Nick Kwiatkowski, who they actually lost to the Raiders. The notable losses, like I said, was Nick Kwiatkowski, Leonard Floyd, HaHa Clinton-Dix, and Carl Long, who was their offensive guard. I think he retired. So that leaves a hole on their offensive line. And they do not have a first-round pick this year, and that's because of the Khalil Mack trade. They will have one next year, but obviously they traded for Khalil Mack, extended him big. I think it was a couple of years ago now, 2018 off-season, I think it was. So they've paid the price for that. They've got Khalil Mack, but they don't have a first-round pick, and it could hinder them because this is a team that needs a young. It needs more young superstars, in my opinion.
Yeah. Weird one for the Chicago Bears because they needed a good offseason. I don't think they've had a good offseason. I don't like the acquisition of Nick Foles, but it brings in a bit of competition for Mitch Trubisky, and apparently the thing is they're going to go at it in training camp, and people believe Nick Foles is going to win.
Who do you think's going to win? Who do you think's going to win it?
I think Nick Foles will win. I think he's a better quarterback, but none of them are great quarterbacks. They're just good quarterbacks, you know. Nick Foles' rise to the Super Bowl was Cinderella, and that was it, you know, in my opinion, personally.
Yeah, I mean, he just fit the Eagles scheme perfectly, didn't he, really, Nick Foles?
Yeah.
But anyway, it seems like wherever else he's played, he's been garbage.
I don't think it was just Nick Foles and no one else. I think it was the rest of the team as well. But I agree. Tight end Jimmy Graham, yeah, you know, sure.
Whatever.
I feel a lot of it has sadly been whatever. But when you look for one thing that worries me about the Bears specifically, because there's not much to talk about because they've not done much. What they've done is bad, and they've lost Clinton Dix. Shame, because I actually quite like him, and he's moved to the Dallas Cowboys, has he not?
He has, yeah. New starting safety.
Yeah, and you know they've lost quite a few. They don't have a first-round pick, which I think is so damaging.
They do have 2 second-round picks though, so they if they want to, they could trade up into the late first round. But if I were them, I'd just stick where they are because there's no point trading back unless you see a target that drops unexpectedly and you really like him and you've got a high grade on him, then make the move. But there's no point in hindering the rest of your draft just so I can have a first round pick. But it's not good not having a first round pick.
But they are going to miss out on a lot of high end talent, which this team needs. You know, if you miss out on the playoff, like it's okay not having a first round pick. I think is it San Francisco that had a lack of picks, like a real lack of picks. It's okay to have a real lack of picks if your team went to the Super Bowl and a lot of the core of it stays together. If your team doesn't have a first round pick, you finish 8-8 and you miss out on the playoffs, then you're in trouble because you can't, go forward because you're just going to have the exact same team as you did this year with a couple of rookies that might be stars that you pick up in later rounds, but not everyone in the later rounds is a star. That's the problem.
No, I do agree. I think the Bears, for them to have a successful season, they need to draft very well. And the second round and third round generates brilliant players. I like I said, I really enjoy watching the second and third rounders because you see a lot of those players that might have slipped out the first round, or for what reason they might be injured, or they might have off-field issues, whatever. But they get picked up and they prove to be really, really good players. The Bears have got to get 2 really, really good second-round picks that can contribute early because there's quite a lot of holes on this team, in my opinion.
There is, but we'll go into the thing is, I know we talked about like 25 minutes with the Vikings, but they actually did something. So when it comes to the draft, they don't have a first round pick, but they have a second round pick. So where do you think they need to improve in the second round?
See, it's a tough one because, like I said, I think they've got plenty of holes. Maybe offensive line. Their offensive line isn't amazing, and it's getting a bit older now. Their defense is still very, very good. I think it's in my opinion, it's still one of the better defenses because you've got Khalil Mack, you've kept Danny Trevathan, you've added Robert Quinn, albeit it might be overpaid, but you still added him. Their corners are pretty good. Their safeties are very good. Eddie Jackson is a very good safety. So I think you need to look at offensive line and maybe another offensive weapon because I know you've got Allen Robinson, you've got young wide receiver in what's his name, Anthony from Memphis. What's his name? The wide receiver. Have you got it written down?
No, I don't have it.
No, Anthony Miller. That's it. Anthony Miller. Oh. Anthony Miller. They drafted him out of Memphis a couple of years ago, second round pick. Good young wide receiver. They've added Jimmy Graham as well, but maybe an offensive weapon in this wide receiver rich draft. Maybe they look at a wide receiver in the second round.
Do you have any names? Because I do have a name written down. I do have a wide receiver in the second round that I think might drop that far that they could probably get.
KJ Hamler is a good wide receiver. Chase Claypool, another good wide receiver who they could look at taking. Van Jefferson from Florida, another second and third round option. Maybe someone like T. Higgins falls. We just don't know. But wide receiver definitely is a need for them, and there's plenty of options to choose from.
I had Brandon Ayuk out of Arizona. possibly being.
He's a good player, but I think with him he's similar to Labisca. He's got a bit of an injury concern.
I know he's going to be available. That's the thing. I don't know if
he will be available. It's whether they pull the trigger on him or not.
I don't know whether. I don't think KJ Hamler will be available. I think he's a high second round. You know,
I don't know because KJ Hamler, he's got a lot of speed, but he's only 5'9", and he had a lot of issues at dropping. He dropped a lot of passes, to be fair, at Penn State. And like you say, with only being 5'9", he's an inside guy. You can't really play a 5'9" receiver on the outside.
No.
But I think KJ Hamler mid-second round. I think the Bears will have an opportunity of drafting him. To be honest with you, just because I think there's so many good receivers. I think all these good second-round picks are going to be pushed down the pecking order just because of how many good receivers there are. You might see some first-round talents falling into the second round. Labisca, with his injury concerns, is one that I'm interested to see where he goes, because if he's fit, he's a first-round pick. But if he's not, he's going to fall into the second round. Jalen Reagor, another wide receiver from TCU, I think he's a very good wide receiver. He's probably another second-round pick that might fall, even though I think he's a first-round grade. He might fall right into the Bears' lap in the second round. But yeah, we'll have to see. There's going to be talented players there. I think an offensive lineman for them to target is Lloyd Cushbury from LSU. I think he played centre for LSU, but he can also play guard. Just replace Kyle Long, who's been there Kyle Long's only 30 years old, but he's retired. It's a big loss for them. So they do need to look to replace him.
What do you think about like offensive tackle? Because who's going to drop that far? Because we've got Jedrick Wills, Tristan Wirfs, Austin Jackson, Andrew Thomas, who are first rounders.
Well, Mekhi Becton as well. Mekhi Becton won't be there.
Oh, I mean, Mekhi Becton. So who's dropping this far?
Well, I think Jedrick Wills, Tristan Wirfs, Andrew Thomas, and Mekhi Becton are your top four. They could all go in the top 20, arguably. Josh Jones, I think he'll get picked in the first round. I don't think he'll go. I don't think he will get out the first round. Now, I think the best chance of getting offensive tackle they've got is either Austin Jackson, Ezra Cleveland, or Cesar Ruiz, the guard. Other than that, I don't think they have a shot of those other four, because they all go in the first round.
Oh, you ain't got a shot of the other four, but you've got some other names. Isaiah Wilson, Georgia.
Yeah, he's rising up draft boards, to be fair. Is Isaiah Wilson quite a lot, and you know what? It honestly wouldn't surprise me if he went in the first round. If one, players seem to be rising. Their stock seems to be rising at the moment. I don't know what it is.
No, well, as it gets closer, maybe they've had these interviews, and he might be, he's influenced them with the interviews they might be having. I'm not quite sure, but I'll be honest. I'm looking at the offensive tackle options, and I've got to admit, I kind of want them to take Prince Tega Wanogo because of his name. What a brilliant!
I think he will be there in the second round for them.
I mean, if you lose Clinton Dix, you've got to replace him with Prince Tega Wanogo in terms of names. But no, I think losing that first round is crucial. I think detrimental, really detrimental. It seemed good at the time, but I think Khalil Mack was
he still is probably the best edge rusher in the league, Khalil Mack, when you look at it on paper. But like you say, you're paying him a big salary and you've given up draft capital to get him.
I think, to me, situationally, if they'd have made the playoffs, we'd probably be saying it's not too bad. The fact they finished 8-8 and they can't improve much next year means to me that this is definitely a two-team division.
It's definitely a two-team division. There's no way the Bears challenge the Vikings or the Packers. But yeah, we'll have to see, because they made the playoffs. They finished 12-4 and they were a third seed in the 2018 playoffs, and they played really well under rookie head coach Matt Nagy. But this season was very underwhelming in my opinion, because their defense is very good. But in my opinion, the Bears don't have that quarterback that can elevate their team, and I know not many teams do. But Mitch Trubisky, I've said it many times, I just don't rate the guy, and I think the Bears seriously should be considering looking for a replacement for Mitch Trubisky. Because Nick Foles, he's there. They've traded for him, but is he the long-term option? I don't know. No, when you look at this team could have had Pat Mahomes or Deshaun Watson at pick 3, but they took Mitch Trubisky instead.
Well, mistakes happen in life.
Hindsight's a beautiful thing.
Exactly, and to be fair, they could have Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson could have been busts, but it was very unlikely. But now they're ended up with Nick Foles. So we'll move on to the next team in the division, because there's not much more to talk about with the Bears this season, really.
So, where do you think they'll finish third in the division? I think they'll finish third. Probably, yeah, third in the division. I think the Lions will come on to later. Just not enough to catch them, I don't think.
No, but the Green Bay Packers, who are on the screen at the moment, are the consensus divisional winners. I'm grasping it from me and you here.
They're the favourites. As you can see there, they finished with a record of 13-3, which is very, very good. And got stomped in the NFC Championship game by the 49ers, like many teams did in the past season. But yeah, they got knocked out. And like I said earlier, they weren't very active during free agency. Their main acquisition was Browns linebacker Christian Kirksey, who signed a 2-year, $16 million deal. I think it's a nice contract. Again, Christian Kirksey is a good player, but he has those injury concerns. I think a change of scenery could be good for him. And I think, yeah, it's a solid signing by the Packers. But I think they wanted Corey Littleton, went to the Raiders. I think he was their main target, and they missed out on him. They signed former Colts receiver Devin Funchess to a 1-year, $2.5 million deal. Now, Devin Funchess, when he played for the Panthers, was a very good wide receiver, but last offseason he was a free agent and didn't get a lot of interest. The Colts signed him to a 1-year deal, and he got injured. So they've kind of took a bit of a flyer there, the Packers, I think, signed Devin Funchess. Then they signed former Lions offensive tackle Rick Wagner after losing Brian Bulaga. Brian Bulaga is one of the best right tackles in the league, and that was a big, big loss for them. They also lost Blake Martinez, their starting linebacker, and Kyler Fackrell, their starting outside linebacker. And like we said, Jimmy Graham. Is he a loss? He's a name. He's a big name, but it leaves a void at tight end for them, whether you like it or not. He's not the great player, but they're needing a tight end now. And they currently hold the 30th overall pick in the upcoming draft.
I think, for me, they haven't replaced Brian Bulaga. It's nowhere near, like, the quality drop.
Rick Wagner's he's a tier, a couple of tiers below Brian Bulaga, isn't he? Let's be honest.
Yeah, I mean, if we look at last season, we reflect on the season they had. Good season, but for me, they were never going to make it to the. They were, for me, I was never impressed watching them, which is weird for a 13-3 team. Like, for a 13-3 team who, blew away quite a few teams. I never even when they went into that NFC Championship game, I didn't believe in them an iota to win that game, and that's weird coming into it. So for me, next season, I don't think they'll finish as well as they did this year. I think they'll win the division, but I think they'll finish 11-5.
I was going to say 11-5, yeah. And I think with them, the season before this, I think they only won. I think they only won like 8 games or 9 games. They didn't actually make the playoffs the season before this. That meant their schedule was easier. Now they've got a first place schedule. They're going to be playing big teams week in, week out. They're not winning 13 games next season. I can't see it. Maybe that 13-3 record includes 2 wins over the Vikings. I could see them splitting the series with the Vikings next year. I think both teams could win 1 game each from that series.
Well, I'm thinking with the schedule, it is a toss. If there's a year that the Vikings could win the division, this should be the year, because I do think in terms of they've got a tougher schedule. I think what they've lost to what they've gained, I think they've lost more than they've gained.
I agree.
But they still have a core of a very good team with a very good quarterback in Aaron Rodgers. Christian Kirksey,
it's a nice signing.
Yeah, I like the deal. Devin Funchess, 1 year, $2.5 million. It's hit or miss. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
But the Rick Wagner, it's such a loss from Brian Bulaga.
It's a massive loss.
But I'm pretty sure they still have a bit of cap for him. I'm pretty sure they have like $26 million, so then they're not too bad. I think they're more bothered about keeping what they have, rather than acquiring this, acquiring that, getting this, getting that. Just keep what you've got, which is fine. But they do have a late pick, really late pick. Where do you think they need to improve? Because I've written down 2 players. I've written down, I think I've written down an offensive lineman, and I've written down a wide receiver.
I've got them taking a wide receiver in the first round, just because outside of Devontae Adams, they don't have that second option. I don't think they've got Alan Lazard. I think he's a rookie this year, and Marquez Valdez-Scantling, but you need that solid number 2 option. So I think I've got them taking a wide receiver. But like you say, offensive tackles also a need for them after losing Bulaga. Yeah,
I've written down as my wide receiver pick at number 30. They could trade up. They could, but I don't think they need to. They could trade up for one of the top 3.
Yeah, they could do, but it's like, do they want to give up picks? Because you've got to remember, when you're trading up from 30 to like 12, you're going to give up a lot of like third round, second round picks, you're going to lose depth there. You're going to get your star receiver, but you're going to lose depth.
I don't think they will. I'm just saying they could, but if they want like that top tier wide receiver, but I don't think they will. The guy I've got at 30 is Laviska Shenault.
Yeah, well, I had Laviska in my latest mock draft. I had them taking him, but it's the only concern with Laviska. We know he's a great player. It's just the medical concerns, really. If he checks out healthy on draft day, I think he will be the pick. Maybe it might even go a bit earlier. Laviska Shenault would be a nice pick. Another wide receiver for them. I think I've already mentioned his name. Jalen Reagor from TCU. I think putting him next to Davante Adams, exploiting that speed. It's what Aaron Rodgers needs. Aaron Rodgers, he can make any throw on the field, and if you've got speed, he can create separation. Aaron Rodgers can get him the ball, and he can cause havoc run after the catch.
Where do you think Justin Jefferson goes in terms of number?
I think he'll be the fourth receiver taken. I think behind. Obviously, you've got your big three. You've got CeeDee Lamb, Jerry Jeudy, Henry Ruggs.
Yeah.
Then I think the fourth receiver is either going to be Mims or Jefferson. Maybe even T. Higgins, like you said. T. Higgins could sneak in there. I don't think they'll have a shot at Jefferson. I think the Eagles, looking at the team that's going to pick up Jefferson, because if there's a team that needs a wide receiver, it's the Eagles. They've got Walmart. They've got Walmart workers playing wide receiver at the moment. They need a number one target desperately. So I don't think Justin Jefferson will be on the board for the Packers at 30.
No, but if we're going wide receivers, I think you've got Laviska's up there. Maybe Mims if he drops, and maybe Hamler if he sneaks up the draft board. I think, or Reagor as you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Then probably the four of the realistic options, and then I think I had at offensive tackle. I had Austin Jackson because he probably will drop this far in terms of I don't think he'll get picked before that, and they do need to replace Brian Bulaga, and he's the only real way to do it. But for me, I'd prioritise that wide receiver and get another weapon for Aaron Rodgers to hit rather than having to constantly go to Davante Adams.
Yeah, I do agree with that. They need another wide receiver. Obviously, we say they lost Jimmy Graham. Cole Kmet, tight end. I think he's from Washington. He could be an option. I think he could sneak into the first round. I think he's the main tight end talent in this draft. I think it's not a very good tight end draft. No. It never usually is, but Cole Kmet could be that first round player. If they want to take a tight end instead, they might take Cole Kmet. But wide receivers the main position of need. I think.
I think it's better to go with one of the other positions for the pure fact that tight ends will drop into. I mean, you could probably get one of the best tight ends in the third. Like you could get that.
You could like Albert O, who had a really good combine. He's a fourth round pick. You can get him in the fourth round.
Where you don't need to blow a first round, especially when you pick 30 on a tight end.
Unless that tight end's George Kittle or Travis Kelce, I'd pick a wide receiver instead. You
ain't going to get that this year, I don't think, anyway.
No.
But we both have them finishing top of the division. What do you think their ceiling is next year? We'll do a big season preview eventually all together, which probably going to be about a 4-hour episode, that. But anyway, we'll do what is their ceiling next year?
I don't think the team can win the NFC. Well, no, they've got the talent to win it. I don't think they will win the NFC in the end. I think their ceiling for them is the NFC Championship game again.
Do you think that's where they're going to get, or do you think I think their ceiling's lower? Maybe it's because I'm a division rival and I'm just going to hate on them. But
no, I think they have the team to make it to the NFC Championship game, because I think you look at teams like Seattle, who they beat in the divisional round. I still think they've got a better overall roster than Seattle. Although Seattle do have a very good roster, the Packers still just a bit better in my opinion. Obviously, the 49ers, I'm interested to see how they do next season, because it's always tough to repeat from a Super Bowl, see if they can get that first seed again. But I think there'll be other teams that improve next season in the NFC. I think it will be harder, hence why I think we both think they won't get to 13 wins. They'll still be a playoff team, but they won't get 13 wins. I think the ceiling for them is the NFC Championship game. I can't see them making a Super Bowl berth.
I wouldn't be surprised if they lost out in the divisional round. I really wouldn't. But again, I'm a division rival, so I'm biased. So
I'm the same with the Eagles anyway, so it's understandable.
Yeah. Should we move to the last team?
Let's move on to the Detroit Lions. It's fair to say they've struggled for a while now, the Detroit Lions. Fair to say finished last season with a record of 3-12-1. And they own a team worse than them in the NFC with the Redskins, the dumpster fire up in Washington. They were very active during free agency, but did they make the right moves? Yet to be seen. They signed former Patriots linebacker Jamie Collins to a 3-year, $30 million deal. They signed former Eagles offensive tackle Hallie Pulivati-Vaitai. I think I nailed that.
Well done.
Yeah.
Well done. How many hours did you spend when you were... You definitely...
Got it first time.
No. Get out.
AKA Big V.
We'll call him Big V.
5-year, $50 million contract. That's what he signed. And then they also signed Falcons cornerback Desmond Trufant onto a 2-year, $21 million deal. They signed 9 other players, including a trade for Duron Harmon from the Patriots, the safety. But I'm not going to put all of those deals down because they were minimum deals, 1-year deals. Notable losses though, they lost some big players. I thought they lost Graham Glasgow, right guard, who was a very good offensive guard for them. The Broncos signed into quite a big deal. Damon Snacks Harrison, the defensive lineman, they released him, but he's probably still one of their better players on the team before they released him, and one of the better run stuffers in the league. Still a free agent, surprisingly. I don't know why no one's not signed him yet. And Devon Kennard, who was their leading, he got the most sacks on their team last season. They released him as well. But the big move for them was trading star cornerback Pro Bowler Darius Slay to the Philadelphia Eagles in exchange for a 3rd-round pick and a 5th-round pick. He's 29 years old. We talked about the Diggs deal earlier. You're not going to get nowhere near the capital the Vikings got for Diggs. Darius Slay, who's he might just be on the end of his prime, but the Eagles, they needed corners and they paid him a lot of money as well.
I thought we'd get more than that.
Yeah, I think a 2nd-round pick was the ceiling for that deal. I thought.
What you've lost is a top-tier corner, but in losing that, you've got a 3rd and a 5th round, which isn't great, and you've also got a man that's just slagged off your head coach in Matt Patricia and the way he coaches, pretty much slagged off the franchise in the way it's ran. So you've lost. Maybe he was a bad egg, I don't know, but you've lost a top-tier player who's then just tarnished your whole...
Yeah, he left Matt Patricia. He hung him out to dry, didn't he? Really, Darius Slay, when he got traded, he said his relationship was poor with Matt Patricia. Apparently, I heard a story that Darius Slay, he got beat in practice by one of the wide receivers, and then Darius Slay put on his Twitter, "Well done to this wide receiver that beat him in practice. Great route." And Matt Patricia in a team meeting apparently called him out. He put the tweet on the big screen saying, "You don't go crying to your teammates when they beat you." All this on social media, and apparently their relationship was just ruined from that point on.
I saw that, and apparently, I think he got beat in a game, and then they'd literally go into a room and he'd just play it on the big screen for everyone to see him get beaten again. I think there was something about that, and I think we'll avoid the proverbials. Don't go in something with him, a sexual act. I think is what he literally said. Stop giving him a sexual act, and I'm like, I don't know. Maybe that's the way he coaches because he came from New England, didn't he?
He did, yeah.
Yeah, and that's a very ruthless style. Does that work with a player like Darius? Maybe Darius Slay is the kind of guy that needs a bit of comfort, a bit of loving. Unlucky you got beat, but we'll move on. Maybe that's what he's looking for.
I think it's very uncalled for by Matt Patricia, really.
What's that, sorry?
I think what Matt Patricia reportedly did is very uncalled for. I don't think there's any reason to unsettle your best player and your only Pro Bowl player. I
mean, as much as we say something like that, obviously some of the people will go, but it's a joke, and you probably say that to your mates all the time. You're like, yeah, but they're in a professional environment. I don't go say that to my boss when he gives another employee of the month. I don't go, well, go and to him. So I think it was the wrong way to go about it. You've severed ties with your best player, who, to be fair, in the Detroit Lions, it's hard to find the best player. But got Darius Slay and Matt Stafford, and it kind of ends there. Yeah. But I think it's a shame that they couldn't get a 2nd round. But I think, to be honest, Patricia just wanted him out of there.
He wanted him gone, and there were no way the Lions were going to make him the highest paid corner in the league like the Eagles did. The Eagles are a competing team. They need to improve at the positions. Darius Slay, good luck to him as an Eagle. I can't wait to see you get burnt by Amari Cooper every week, 2 times a year. But that's another discussion. But the Eagles need good players because they're competing. It made no sense for the Lions, who won 3 games last year, to pay a guy $16 million. They need to rebuild. Which this offseason was very strange, in my opinion, for the Lions, because they wanted to rebuild or they wanted to bolster the roster because they spent a lot of money But then are they also going to compete with those players? It's kind of like, which way do they want to go? And they have the 3rd overall pick in this year's draft.
I mean, look at the 3 you mentioned. That's a combined 100 million over, the years. Yeah. And I just.
Well, they like to sign Patriots players just because of the link they've got there, and the coaching is similar. But they're nice players, but are they franchise-changing players? Are they gonna give you? Are they gonna elevate you into playoff contention?
Well, are they going to win you more than 3 games? You know what? Probably, because it's easier to win more than 3 games. But I think Desmond Trufant, it's not Darius Slay level of corner, but he's a solid corner you can get.
He is.
Big V.
It was a nice replacement. Yeah, Big V. Go on.
I like Big V. No, I like Big V. Good signing. I mean, 5 years for 50 million. I mean, he's only 26, so you could get a good few years out of him. And Jamie Collins, it's another okay deal. We're looking at, for me, the Lions is that 3rd round pick and where they spend it and what they buy and what they get for it. For me, it's on the defensive side of the ball. You said Isaiah Simmons, but for me, it's always going to be Jeff Okudah, in my opinion.
I think it's one of the two. I think they're both needs. And they need cornerbacks. Jeff Okudah is the best cornerback in the draft. But I just put Isaiah Simmons just because, you can look at they need corners, but they need every other position on defense. And if there's one man that can play every position, it's Isaiah Simmons. But we'll have to see what they do with it, because there are rumours they could trade back and get extra picks and still end up with their player they want. Because apparently the Chargers' interest is growing, and maybe they want 2 now instead. So that you could see a move from 6 to 3. Where the Lions move back to pick 6 and still end up with Jeff Okudah or Isaiah Simmons. But we'll have to see with the Lions. I think, like we said, we've said this many a times. With this draft, the first 2 picks we know what's going to happen with the first 2 picks. The draft really starts at round 3. What do the Lions do? Because we know the Skins are going to take Chase Young, and we know that the Bengals are going to take Joe Burrow. With that 3rd pick, it's going to be really interesting to see where what the Lions do with it, because I think that's where the draft really starts.
To be fair, I think the rumours that the Bengals maybe want to swap 5 first rounds for I think people are just pissing into the wind. To be honest with you, I think they're just trying to create something to talk about. Like maybe the Redskins take a new quarterback to replace Dwayne Haskins. No, they're not. They're not going to do that. No. They're going to take Chase Young. They're going to take the best player in the draft. So as you say, I think 3rd. I think the interesting one for me really is the New York Giants. I'm very intrigued.
Well, you see. Dave Gettleman, their GM, he's not one to shy away from making surprise picks, especially last year with Daniel Jones.
Exactly. So I'm excited to see where that goes. But let's talk. If they get Isaiah Simmons and Jeff Okudah, does this switch this franchise on its head? For me, no. I think next season they end up with 4 or 5 wins. But Matt Stafford, fit for a whole year.
Like I said, I was pretty high on Matt Stafford when we were doing the quarterback rankings. He only played 8 games, but he still had 19 touchdown passes. I think Matt Stafford, he was a first overall pick, and when you give him the help and the protection, he can win you games, because they made it to the playoffs. They had back-to-back 9-7 seasons. The Lions a few years ago, and they made it to the playoffs. Lost to the Seahawks in the first game of the playoffs, but it's shown that Matt Stafford, when given the offensive line and the wide receivers, that he can do damage. And the offense for the Lions is still pretty good. I think you've got Matt Stafford, you've got Kerryon Johnson at running back, you've got Kenny Golladay, who I think again he's another underrated player in the league at wide receiver. Kenny Golladay, nice player. They've still got Marvin Jones. Their offensive line's looking a bit hurt now, especially with losing Ricky Wagner.
Big V's in there.
Yeah, that's true. They've got Big V. They've still got Frank Ragnow, their centre. But for me, it's Matt Patricia's on the hot seat, in my opinion. He's got to do something this year. Why has he gone?
Well, I mean, if you look at the way that what this year will tell us is, was it, for example, we'll go back to Darius Slay for a minute. Was it bad coaching, or was it a bad personality? Because if Patricia this year again ends up, we'll go 4-12, just because I think he's got to go after that, because you've got rid of your star corner and you've not improved at all from the year before. So, what do you think they finish this year? I think they genuinely finished 5-11.
I was going to say the same, 5-11, or maybe they get that lucky win and finish 6-10 late in the season when the games don't matter. I think they will do better than they did this season. They will win more than 3 games. So I think Matt Stafford will play a full season, and it will be interesting to see how Matt Stafford does whilst playing a full season. Because let's be honest, their backups, nothing to shout about was their backup quarterback. Let's be honest.
No.
Matt Stafford coming back is only going to help them, but can he stay healthy? He seems like he's suffering a lot of injuries lately, Matt Stafford, and I don't think they're going to take a quarterback early on in this draft. They might take like a late flyer. Might take like a Jalen Hurts or a Jacob Eason later on in the draft because this is another team with quite a lot of picks.
I think they need to bolster the roster rather than looking at that quarterback position just yet.
Yeah, and that's why I said they might trade back. They might trade back and acquire extra picks, and then they've got loads and loads of picks on day 2 where they can really, really revamp this roster and get more depth for the positions of need.
Definitely, it's an option because they need a lot of help. And I'll be honest, when I first did this, right, I was looking through the teams and I thought, do the Bears have they had a worse off season than the Lions? Because they both had pretty poor off seasons. And I was going, do I put the Bears in 4th? Do I put the Lions in 3rd? And then I looked at what the Lions did and thought, no, they're back in 4th because they just haven't done it. I don't know where they're going. They're not rebuilding because that wasn't a tanking season.
Sign all those big players, aren't they? Spent a lot of money.
And I'm sorry, that wasn't a tanking season. That was just a bad team. That wasn't them tanking for pick. The Dolphins you can understand. Sadly, the Bengals just tanked a little bit better than the Dolphins did. I think the Bengals got to kind of a acceptance stage where they thought, accept it, build next year from getting Joe Burrow at number 1. I think the Lions and the Redskins were just both bad teams. Yeah,
the Redskins have been bad for a while. I think the Redskins, though, that with the new head coach Ron Rivera, I think he'll bring more stability because we talk about how bad some of the head coaching units are in the league. The Redskins have bad one for a while. They had Jay Gruden. He finally got fired, and they got Ron Rivera in, who's shown he can win. He's got to a Super Bowl before, so let's see how he does. I think and if getting Chase Young, if they get Chase Young, they've got one of the best front sevens in the league because their linebackers and pass rushers are very good, but their overall rosters, bad. I think they've got one decent receiver, Terry McLaurin. But moving on from the Redskins, I think the Lions are a team that I'm very interested to see just based on the facts. Was this a bad season without Matthew Stafford, or are they just not that good? That's what I want to know.
Well, I don't think they won a game.
Yeah, I don't think they did.
So, add him in. Do I think he's going to be the game changer? No. So we'll finish the video. Give us your list and records for the top 4 of this year. So, do you want me to start or you to start? It's up to you.
You can go first if you want.
I'll go. Packers at number 1. They finish 11-5, in my opinion. Minnesota Vikings, they finish 9-7.
Mm-hmm.
The Bears, they finish 7-9. And then the Detroit Lions finish 5-11 at number 4.
Right. So, I'm going to go with, it's pretty similar to yours, to be honest with you. Green Bay Packers, 11-5, win the division. Minnesota Vikings, 9-7. They might squeak into that last playoff spot, or maybe the 6th seed, but I think they are still a playoff contending team. I'm going to make it a bit interesting here. I'm not going to go with the same. Right? I'm going to go with the Lions finishing 3rd in the division, finishing 6-10. I've got the Bears also finishing 6-10, but the Lions finished 3rd on the tiebreaker
because they beat them in throughout the year.
I do not like that quarterback situation in Chicago, and without a 1st-round pick, it's tough sledding.
Yeah, I was torn between the two of them but then I saw that the Lions are awful.
I think we can agree. I think we can agree though. It's just a 2-horse race in this division.
And I wouldn't be surprised. I know that's probably me being loyal. I wouldn't be surprised if the Vikings spring a surprise this year and win the division. But
anything can happen.
That's loyalty. That's pure loyalty. No other reason for that. But as I say, thank you for joining us again for the NFL Corner this week. Next week we will be going through the AFC North. And then I think we'll have one more week to do, which will be another division. And then the week after that, we will be doing a live draft, our mock draft in the morning here in England, because our draft starts at 1 a.m. or something like that. But so we'll have a draft. Our final mock draft, we'll both do one. So it'll be a long video, but we'll both do one on the day of the draft. And then we'll be back later that night, all refreshed and full of snacks, ready to go for a weekend full of live shows. Thursday we'll have the first round. Friday we'll have the second and third.
Yeah,
am I right?
And Saturday 4th to 7th round.
Saturday we'll have 4th to 7th, which will just be us two looking puzzled at who the bloody hell's coming out in the 4th and 7th round that we've never heard of.
There's never a bad pick in the 7th round because it's just a flyer at the end of the day. Who you're picking?
No one has a clue. It's like everyone's probably. If you watch the Hunger Games, where everyone's eating an apple and then she has to fire an arrow for them to notice her. I feel like that's
I've got to be honest. I've never watched the Hunger Games.
Wow. Well, whoever gets that reference gets that reference. But I feel like one in the 7th round just should fire an arrow at the NFL and just go, "I'm still here." It's a lost analogy if you don't watch Hunger Games.
And we'll see who gets the award of Mr. Irrelevant, the last pick of the draft. Which is a thing, by the way. The last pick of the draft actually gets a jersey, pick 253. It's number 253 on the back of the jersey, and it says Mr. Irrelevant
on the back.
You what?
Does it actually say irrelevant on the back?
It says Mr. Irrelevant on the back.
Right, I don't believe this at all.
No. Search up on YouTube, Mr. Irrelevant, and you will see it's a real thing.
Do you know what this reminds me of? Do you know when you're at high school, or if you play for a football team at kids, and you go, "What did you win? Most improved." So you was crap last year, less crap this year. Well done to you. But they get a jersey that says Mr. Irrelevant.
Mr. Irrelevant. Hopefully, Mr. Irrelevant is the Super Bowl MVP this season.
Well, no, because that's obviously going to go to Jameis when he gets signed. I've told you this already.
Last week we said it was going to be the Jameis Winston tribute, but we couldn't do it because he's still a free agent. He's still unsigned.
Yeah. We're waiting for him to sign, and there's just going to be a street party. Oh, wait, social distancing. So it's going to be an inside room party just for me.
That quote he said as well earlier, Winston, the fact that Tampa Bay's got to get a player like Tom Brady in to replace me just shows how good I am. Yeah,
as I said to you, very glass half full kind of guy. I don't believe that's entirely true as to why they've signed Tom Brady. It wasn't you were so good, but I admire the optimism of Mr. Jameis. But thanks for joining us again. And Josh, thanks for joining us on the controls. If he's ever going to enter the back.
Thanks for being patient for an hour and 6 minutes.
Yeah, he has. And, we had a mishap in the first where he jumped the gun, but it's okay.
I might have jumped the gun, and I apologise if I jumped the gun.
Here he is. Well, this is the man behind it. Oh, he's gone. That was the man behind it all. So thank you to him to get this set up. It's not the ideal situation. We don't want it. We want to be back in the studio with 65 different images to put in a row, which took hours to create. I know. Anything to be thrown back to me sitting there for 2 hours straight with Will on the phone while he's waiting to record. And I'm only on photo number 10. How many have you got? 54. But it's fine. So thank you very much for joining. Make sure to remember we've got the Hull City career mode, which is unbelievably my team, as you can see there by the calendar. It wasn't me that rigged the vote. It was Josh's viewers that rigged the vote.
We don't know that, do we?
No, I'm not saying I created 17 fake accounts. I'm just saying. We've got the Hull City career mode. I'm not sure on the schedule for that. Josh might pop in and tell us if he arrives.
Tomorrow.
There he is.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow Monday. There you go.
There you go. Thank you very much.
Commissioner Josh has spoken.
You're welcome.
Right, and then on Tuesdays we've got the Wrestling Corner. They recently had the WrestleMania show, which, by the way, if you haven't watched WrestleMania, top quality work from WWE. I'm a big fan of what they did this weekend. Gronk, former NFL player Rob Gronkowski.
What a guy. 3 Super Bowl rings and now a WWE belt.
Exactly. He won the 24/7. Go check that out on Tuesday. The lads put a lot of effort in. It was a long show because it's the biggest weekend of the wrestling calendar. Wednesdays, with the granddaddy of them all, the Top Corner. We had a rest of the world team of the season yesterday, which was very interesting to talk about. A lot of research went into that, so we appreciate everyone who watched that. I'm losing my breath. Next week, we'll have the Liga team of the season, and then eventually the Bundesliga team of the season the week after. Thursdays, it's us. It's the NFL Corner. So thank you for watching.
AFC North next week.
Thank you for this week being my Minnesota Vikings. Make sure to like, subscribe. We're close to 600. We will get there, and I hope, because we'll keep plugging it, to join us for the live reactions in 3 weeks' time for the NFL draft. Thank you very much.
2 weeks' time.
2 weeks' time. Oh my God, time is flying by.
It's going quick.
I can't wait. But thank you very much, and goodbye.
Goodbye.